Now let's get this incredible program started with our keynote by California's own Congressmember Karen Bass, who was re-elected to her 6th term, representing South LA in the 37th Congressional District. In the wake of last summer's uprisings, Congressmember Bass introduced the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, the most transformative piece of policing legislation to ever pass in a chamber of Congress. And now more than ever, we need to get that signed into law. Many of us also know Congressmember Bass as the founder of COCO, Community Coalition, the trailblazing and beloved South LA community organizing nonprofit. While it was her intention to join us live today, she needs to be on the House floor for some key votes tonight. Therefore, her comments are pre-recorded. Please join me in welcoming to the Zoom stage Congressmember Karen Bass.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. And let me just say that I want to begin by congratulating and thanking the Advancement Project, thanking you for all of the years that you have had in contributing to our struggle, compiling the data that we need to organize and the data that we need to legislate. You have made a huge difference. And I am honored to share this event with 3 very powerful women: grassroots organizing, leading the labor movement, a leader in the state legislature. The tremendous contributions that you have made really show that California can lead the way to progressive change in our country. When I think of what we have in our state, the state of our state is doing pretty well, especially if you think about the rest of the country. We are in an incredible historical moment, and I characterize it as a great moment of hope, incredible hope, but also incredible danger. We're all recovering from the last 4 years where we actually had an open white supremacist in the White House. We have had a president who empowered and unleashed a white supremacist movement that was always there, but he gave it life, he fed it oxygen, and we are paying the consequences, and that is an incredible danger. We know that they were so afraid of the inevitable demographic shift in our country. In a few short years, the rest of the country is going to be like California, majority folks of color. And unfortunately, instead of embracing the rainbow in our country, that terrifies some people to the point where they want to alter the structure of our democracy in this country. We had a president who fomented racial attacks on every single group: African Americans, Latinx community, API community, Native Americans, and in fact, he ended his presidency by spending all last year attacking Asians by trying to blame China for COVID-19, and whether COVID-19 started there, I think we know it started there. Very doubtful that the Chinese would diabolically spread the virus, but the idea that he fomented such anger that it has led to an incredible and tragic increase in anti-Asian violence. And so as we rallied around African Americans, as we rallied around the Latinx community, the Native American community, we will rally around and embrace our Asian American sisters and brothers and fight back this racist attack. 2020 was an awful year, and I don't know of anybody that was sad to see the year end. We all watched people we know get sick and die. We had a pandemic, and we had no leadership in the country that allowed the pandemic to kill over 500,000 Americans by the time the year ended. But we also saw tremendous hope out of an incredible tragedy. The world witnessed the torture, the slow torture and murder of George Floyd. And no one could deny that this wasn't just incredible police brutality and frankly homicide, murder. Now there is a trial that is taking place that the entire world is going to watch and see whether or not our cries for human rights around the world is not complete hypocrisy here at home, if we cannot find our way to a guilty verdict for such an obvious murder. But in the midst of that tragedy, we saw a new chapter of a long-term movement for social and racial justice occur in our country, with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets. And because of all of that power in the streets, it has led to legislative change all around the country in terms of police reform, and it gave us the power and the wind in our sails to pass legislation in the House of Representatives, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And obviously it is not going to end police brutality, but it makes a huge step forward for the first time, actually holding police officers accountable, making it easier to sue them, make it easier to prosecute them, raising the standards of policing in the United States, 18,000 police departments and no national standards, banning chokeholds, banning no-knock warrants. Those are some features of the bill. But that bill only passed the House of Representatives because of the massive movement. And now, as the trial is underway, we are making another attempt at passing that bill. We passed it again in March out of the House of Representatives, and now it is in the Senate. I actually am hopeful that we are going to get a bill on President Biden's desk. And I'll be happy that we've made a huge step forward, but all of us know that whatever lands on President Biden's desk will not be enough, and we'll have to continue fighting to have police function to protect and serve in all communities, not be warriors in one community and guardians in other communities. And so with the movement for racial justice around George Floyd tragedy, we saw systemic racism, racial equity become part of the popular vernacular in the United States. That is an incredible moment of hope, and that is one that we have to make sure that we capture. We have a long way to go, but at least now the conversation is beginning. But with all that happened last year in terms of the tragic COVID epidemic and the incredible lengths that some people were doing in certain states to suppress the vote, we organized and we won. In the state of Georgia, sending a black man and a Jewish man, both Democrats of course, to the U.S. Senate was a phenomenal accomplishment. Electing a president who in his inaugural speech says white supremacy, we could have never imagined the president ever using that term, period, but especially in an inaugural speech, and then to make racial equity a key part of his agenda. I think that is an amazing step forward, but all of us know what is really going to move the needle on racial equity is going to be our ability to organize. It cannot just be done at the top. It is wonderful to have an administration place racial equity at the center, but it is going to be on us to make sure that it actually happens. So that's why I consider this moment a moment of incredible hope, but incredible danger. The danger again, the day after that amazing victory in Georgia, what happened? An attempted coup in the United States of America, an insurrection. All of the white supremacists who had been fomenting and foaming at the mouth, especially after they lost the election, attacked the Capitol of the United States. And although that attack only lasted for a few hours, make no mistake, as we have a movement for racial and social justice, they have a movement to move the needle back, to move our history back, to move our history back 100 years. They have a movement that could lead to the destruction of democracy in this country and the rise of fascism. Make no mistake about that. This is a dangerous moment, but it's a moment of incredible hope. It's a moment of incredible danger. But where I believe that we have advanced so much and achieved a level of sophistication in our own movement that we will be able to overcome whatever they put in our way. But we know the only way that we will overcome and the only way we will succeed is by moving forward with an inside and an outside strategy. The inside strategy is electing progressives to office, electing people to office who will lead with a set of values and who will lead with a clear, concrete agenda. But we cannot accomplish our work if there is not the outside pressure. Even when progressives are in office, we need the pressure, we need that support, because that allows us to bring about the change that is needed. And so I am hopeful overall that we are turning a new page in the history book in the United States. And I believe that new page, that new chapter will have all of us at the center, because I believe that through our organizing, we will ultimately be victorious. But without institutions like the Advancement Project, without the leaders like the 3 other sisters who are on the program today, that change will not come. So I just want to again congratulate you for the work that you are doing, and thank you for giving me the honor of speaking with you today.